What if the most powerful ideas in Hollywood science fiction were born far away from Los Angeles, in a place where surreal dreams, harsh fears, and bold imagination collided on Japanese film sets? For decades, these films shaped creature design, world building, and emotional tone in Hollywood, yet most viewers have never heard of them. Today, we uncover 13 Japanese sci-fi deep cuts that rewrote the future of American cinema without ever being credited. Number 13. The Mysterians, 1957. The Mysterians is often remembered as a pulpy invasion spectacle, but its true power lies in how it quietly transformed the visual and emotional foundation of American space cinema. When the film arrived in 1957, Western audiences had never seen alien armor colored in bold unified patterns that suggested a single militaristic society, nor had they witnessed a giant robot lumbering across Earth with such operatic scale. George Lucas later pointed to this film during early creative brainstorming, noting the hypnotic clarity of its silhouettes, the distinctive helmets and ray beams that felt almost ceremonial. Those ideas planted early seeds for the energy-rich weapons and uniformed galactic forces that appeared in Star Wars. The Mysterians also introduced the notion of aliens not as monsters, but as a tragic race seeking survival, a moral ambiguity that shaped later Hollywood narratives. Its influence resurfaced in concept art for American serial-inspired blockbusters, where streamlined armor and formal alien diplomacy became signature traits. In effect, this overlooked Japanese feature laid groundwork for the tone of solemn cosmic myth that continues to echo through Hollywood epics. Number 12. Gorath, 1962. Gorath entered the world with a premise that struck fear on a planetary scale. A rogue, collapsing star ripping toward Earth, forcing humanity into a state of global emergency. Hollywood disaster films would later adopt this structure, but Gorath arrived decades earlier, presenting a unified worldwide engineering effort to push Earth out of danger itself. This daring idea shaped the narrative core of later American blockbusters like Armageddon or Deep Impact, where scientists scramble to stop an incoming celestial threat. Gorath introduced the dramatic blueprint of frantic political meetings, mounting dread in observatories, and colossal machines built at impossible speeds. These elements created a tone of doom-driven spectacle that Hollywood embraced wholeheartedly. Even the concept of a last-minute heroic megaproject emerged from this film. Special effects teams in the United States studied Gorath for miniature lighting and destruction models, noting how the Japanese approach created emotional weight through gradual environmental collapse. Though rarely mentioned today, Gorath is a missing link in the evolution of global threat disaster cinema. Almost every modern Hollywood cosmic catastrophe owes something to its groundbreaking vision. Number 11. Matango, 1963. Matango is a haunting study of decay, both physical and moral. When it released in 1963, the world had no name for body horror, but this Japanese thriller defined its language long before the term existed. Its tale of shipwrecked survivors slowly transforming into fungal creatures presented horror as a loss of identity and sanity rather than simple physical danger. Directors in America took notice. John Carpenter spoke about its influence on The Thing, describing how its unsettling stillness and gradual transformation shaped his approach to creature dread. David Cronenberg also reflected elements of Matango in his early work, especially the theme of infection altering human desire. Guillermo del Toro praised its nightmarish design, where grotesque fungi grow from once human figures, creating a slow-blooming terror on screen. Matango also introduced the idea that isolation leads to madness, a theme adopted widely in American genre cinema. The film used darkness-swaying lanterns and quiet shock instead of loud violence, a style that echoed through decades of Hollywood psychological horror. Its influence hides in every story where fear grows from within the human body. Though understated, Matango seeded an entire movement of American horror aesthetics that still thrives today. Number 10. Atragon, 1963. Atragon is a monumental vision of underwater power, mythic warfare, and technological ambition. When it surfaced in 1963, audiences witnessed something Hollywood had not yet dared to imagine. A super submarine capable of burrowing through Earth, flying above oceans, and drilling into enemy strongholds. The Gotengo became one of the most influential vehicles in science fiction design, and it inspired deep currents in American adventure cinema. Atragon fused old-world mysticism with futuristic engineering, creating a story where a lost empire rises from the sea to reclaim the world. The mixture of ancient legend and high-tech warfare became a blueprint for Western blockbusters. Irwin Allen borrowed the concept of hybrid submarines for his television epics, while later films like Atlantis, The Lost Empire, and Aquaman echoed its vision of massive underwater kingdoms and impossible machines. Atragon also established a visual grammar of metallic corridors, spinning gyroscopes, and glowing control hubs that American designers later adopted. The film created a unique structure where the vessel itself becomes a character representing human defiance. Hollywood absorbed this idea wholeheartedly. Every time a superweapon submarine appears on the big screen, a faint shadow of Atragon can be felt guiding its cinematic pulse. Number 9. Gok Body, Snatcher from Hell, 1968. Gok Body Snatcher from Hell arrived with a surreal apocalypse where a grounded airplane becomes the cradle of an alien nightmare. Its burning sky, painted in hues of pure red and orange, shocked audiences in 1968, and this visual boldness traveled across decades into American cinema. Quentin Tarantino referenced the film directly during the creation of Kill Bill, drawing on its hyper-saturated skies and isolating landscapes. The alien parasite enters hosts through a vertical slit, opening in the forehead, a design that influenced creature specialists who later worked on The Faculty and Prometheus. The film explores moral collapse among survivors, revealing how fear brings out cruelty and desperation. Hollywood repeated this narrative in films where strangers trapped in confined spaces fight both monsters and each other. Gokey also brought existential dread into the alien invasion genre, showing extraterrestrials as cosmic judges rather than conquerors. Its psychedelic lighting, slow zooms, and dreamlike stillness shaped a new tone for American sci-fi horror. This Japanese deep cut became a quiet architect of the unsettling, surreal mood found in dozens of Hollywood thrillers that followed. Number 8. The War in Space, 1977. The War in Space is often seen as Japan's energetic response to rising global enthusiasm for space operas. Yet in 1977, it also contributed foundational ideas that Hollywood designers later embraced. The film presents starfighters locked in high-speed battles across the void, with laser trails painting the darkness. These visuals mirrored the cosmic dogfights that soon defined American space franchises. The War in Space offered an early example of ancient alien empires hidden across galaxies, long before these narratives became common in Western blockbusters. Production designers in the United States noted the film's approach to spacecraft interiors, where angular metallic walls, glowing monitors, and crowded tactical stations created a sense of lived-in futurism. This approach echoed later in genre-defining films where technology appears functional rather than ceremonial. The film also introduced a villainous alien commander whose ritualistic presence set standards for cosmic antagonists in later Hollywood worlds. Its influence is not loudly celebrated, yet fragments of its imagery appear everywhere, from 80s animated space sagas to big-budget 21st-century epics. The War in Space served as a visual forge that helped shape the modern language of galactic warfare on screen. Number 7. Message from Space, 1978. Message from Space arrived as a dazzling fusion of fantasy folklore and cosmic adventure. When it premiered in 1978, many Western critics dismissed it as a colorful oddity. Yet American filmmakers paid close attention. This Japanese epic blended heroic destinies, glowing celestial seeds, and a band of unlikely warriors pulled together by fate. Hollywood would later expand this storytelling spirit into many space fantasy films of the 1980s. Message from Space introduced a unique rhythm, where mysticism guides technology rather than the other way around. This idea resurfaced in Willow and other American adventures that merged fairy tale elements with futuristic spectacle. Designers in the United States admired its ornate costumes, jeweled weapons, and shimmering light effects that gave every battle a mythic aura. The film also explored the emotional weight of rebellion against overwhelming empires, a theme that became central to American sci-fi sagas. While audiences today rarely mention this title, filmmakers credit it as an early spark for the fantasy-driven branch of Hollywood science fiction. Message from Space stands as a dream-filled bridge between mythic storytelling and cosmic warfare, shaping an entire generation of American space adventure cinema. Number 6. Virus, 1980. Virus is one of the most ambitious global disaster stories ever filmed. Released in 1980, this Japanese production depicted a chilling scenario where a man-made pathogen sweeps across every continent, leaving only isolated pockets of survivors in extreme regions. Long before Hollywood explored global pandemics, Virus presented a meticulous study of political tension, scientific urgency, and worldwide collapse. Its structure became a template that American films like Outbreak and Contagion later refined. Virus uses international settings, military debates, and catastrophic time jumps to create a sense of unstoppable doom. Hollywood admired this wide-scope approach where a single crisis spirals across nations and cultures. The film also pioneered the narrative device of scientists racing against a biological clock, a structure repeated endlessly in American thrillers. Its portrayal of global cooperation and secret military decisions echoed through later Western pandemic cinema. Though rarely screened today, Virus remains a cornerstone that shaped the realism, tension, and emotional stakes of Hollywood disaster storytelling. Number 5. Sayonara Jupiter, 1984. Sayonara Jupiter emerged in 1984 as a large-scale cosmic opera that dared to mix environmental themes with deep space exploration. American writers for Star Trek noted the film during early drafts of Star Trek IV, especially its portrayal of giant sea creatures communicating through mysterious signals. Sayonara Jupiter builds its tension around a desperate attempt to prevent a catastrophic solar event, while also depicting humanity as both heroic and flawed. Hollywood adopted many of these themes using cosmic-scale threats paired with intimate human dilemmas. The film showcased grand starship interiors filled with glowing consoles and multi-layered control pits, a design approach that resurfaced across American science fiction television. Its message about saving Earth through unity rather than conquest also became central to later Western space epics. The film blends scientific speculation with emotional storytelling, creating a tone that American studios borrowed repeatedly in films where humanity must confront the unknown. Sayonara Jupiter therefore stands as a quiet but powerful influence, helping shape the ecological and philosophical heart of Western space cinema. Number 4. The Red Spectacles, 1987. The Red Spectacles arrived in 1987 as a surreal political puzzle wrapped in noir aesthetic and dystopian science fiction. Directed by Mamoru Oshii, it presented a society ruled through fear, corruption, and militarized bureaucracy. Hollywood filmmakers would later echo these themes in films where cold institutions crush individuality. The Red Spectacles built a world where armored police units stalk civilians through alleyways drenched in smoke, artificial rain, and oppressive silence. These images created a haunting mood that inspired the visual sensibilities of later American genre films like Dark City and Blade, where reality becomes unstable and authoritarian structures twist ordinary life into nightmare. The film also introduced a fragmented narrative style where dream sequences and unreliable memories blur together, creating disorientation that American directors embraced throughout the 1990s. Guillermo del Toro praised its bold mixture of philosophy and absurdity, noting how it shapes emotional texture rather than straightforward plot. Hollywood designers studied the armored dog units and stark industrial backgrounds, which influenced later visions of dystopian policing. The Red Spectacles remains one of Japan's most stylistically daring sci-fi works, and its fingerprints rest quietly on many American portrayals of psychological and institutional oppression. Number 3. Gunhead, 1989. Gunhead burst onto screens in 1989 with a raw industrial style that fused cyberpunk fear with high-tech warfare inside an abandoned island fortress. Its gritty vision of malfunctioning robots dripping oil smoke and sparks captured the imagination of special effects teams in the United States. They drew from its mechanical realism while developing creature rigs and animatronic systems for Hollywood landmarks such as Aliens and RoboCop. Gund created an atmosphere where humanity fights rusting machines inside towering steel chambers, echoing a future shaped by unchecked automation. This aesthetic would later influence the industrial techno-nightmare that became a cornerstone of the Matrix era. Gunhead also popularized the idea of a mech as a scavenged vehicle rather than a polished military prototype, inspiring American productions to depict machines as imperfect relics. Its claustrophobic lighting, narrow corridors, and war-torn hardware shaped the production language of future science fiction thrillers. Even though Gunhead never became a mainstream success, it carved deep channels into the style of battle-worn machinery that Hollywood returned to again and again when portraying dystopian futures. Number 2. Zerum, 1991. Zerum emerged in 1991 as a bold hybrid of creature horror pulpy action and surreal biomechanical design. Its central monster became one of the most striking creations in Japanese cinema, featuring a towering humanoid figure with an eerie face mounted atop a second living organism. Hollywood creature artists studied Zerum closely, admiring how its animatronics blended rigid armor with shifting organic textures. Designers for Predator 2 and later science fiction television series borrowed elements of its head-opening movement, long tendril-like growths, and silent, relentless hunting style. Zerum also introduced a narrative rhythm where a single unstoppable creature stalks heroes through intricate sets filled with shadows and drifting smoke. This approach reverberated through Hollywood films where the villain becomes a quiet, looming force of nature. The film's action sequences use slow-motion jumps, practical explosions, and eerie switching between real-world environments and pocket dimensions, creating a style that American visual effects teams echoed in later sci-fi adventures. Though rarely mentioned by mainstream audiences, Zerum served as a design manual for many Western artists, shaping monsters that still dominate popular culture today. Number 1. Jellyfish Eyes, 2013. Jellyfish Eyes arrived in 2013 as a surprising blend of pop art psychedelic energy and youthful monster-driven science fiction. Directed by internationally renowned artist Takashi Murakami, the film presented a strange yet emotionally potent world where children bond with surreal floating creatures known as Friends. Hollywood designers soon noticed the film's signature approach. Rather than creating monstrous forms driven only by terror, Murakami combined soft shapes, bright colors, and unsettling biological textures. This contrast reshaped the philosophy behind several American creature design teams during the middle of the 2010s. Marvel concept artists acknowledged looking at Jellyfish Eyes for inspiration during Phase 3, noting how its gentle yet eerie monsters suggested new ways to mix innocence with hidden danger. The film also presented a narrative where emotional trauma manifests in physical creatures, a technique that later echoed through Western fantasy and science fiction stories. Murakami's vision blended childlike imagination with apocalyptic stakes, creating a unique tone that resonated deeply with Hollywood storytellers searching for fresh approaches to monster mythology. Jellyfish Eyes demonstrated that science fiction creatures could be symbolic, whimsical, and emotionally reflective all at once. Even though it is a recent release, its impact on American creature design aesthetics and narrative mood is undeniable, making it the top deep cut that quietly reshaped Hollywood's evolving visual language. Japanese science fiction has shaped Hollywood in ways most viewers never see yet. Its influence runs beneath every starship, every creature, and every world filled with futuristic wonder. From forgotten space operas to surreal body horror, these films changed visual language long before American studios adopted their ideas. By rediscovering these 13 deep cuts, we recognize the true origins of many cinematic milestones and the global imagination that powers them.